Hello, I'm Toycat, and today I'm traveling over 11,000 kilometers for McDonald's. Here's what my path looks like, and it's going to be a very long travel day, and so I figured along the way, why not share 5 things that nobody recommends you do while traveling, myself included, but that I do anyway. Let's start with the first one. Okay, the first is catching an early flight and ending up not sleeping. It's one of the worst things to do to yourself, and it's one of the easiest things to avoid, because on a financial level it doesn't even make any sense, because you actually, you lose the money that you gain from the cheaper flight by ending up having to wake up an absurd hour before public transport is running, and it means that I'm heading to the airport right now, but it's going to cost more than if I just got the later flight. But in my opinion, I do it anyway because I'm already not sleeping if I have to wake up at 5 AM to get to the airport at 8 or 9 versus if I wake up at 3 or 4, but I still regret it so bad. So I don't ever recommend driving to the airport. If you live in a city where it's the only way, then sure, I guess. But even then, the parking fees at the airport never actually make sense, so always catch a taxi if you happen to live in a public transport challenged city. However, there's a fun scheme in London that involves this guy. Oh, what is going on with these seats? Anyway, let's go to the airport. I wanted to try this for a while. It looks so much less beautiful on video. It always does. The escalator's out of order, so I'm gonna have to use the lift though. I mean, it definitely looks out of order to me. Oh, the water machine's out of order too. Update, I'm now eating breakfast. Is that eggs?
Vegan eggs.
Vegan eggs? Oh, so weird. This right here is my plane. I mean, it's not actually, it's just a random plane, but as far as you're concerned, might as well be my plane, right? Fly. I've landed, I'm in Denmark. It was the best border control experience I've had anywhere in the EU, so good job Denmark. But also, now I'm here, I want to point out the third thing you should never do, especially when traveling long haul distances, and that is booking 2 separate flights on different carriers without them being on the same ticket. This means that if there was an issue with my first flight and I somehow didn't make it here in time for my second, I would just lose that second ticket entirely. This is such a bad idea, and the only reason you do it is to save money. In this case, good money to be saved in doing it, and so I've left a 5-hour buffer just in case things went wrong. Nothing went wrong, got here a little bit early I think even, and now if I want to, I can go to Sweden, because apparently the 2 choices on the tracks here are you go to Sweden or you go to Copenhagen, and I think that's cool for an airport. But yeah, I am so beyond tired, but I'm going to use the 5 hours in Copenhagen to see the city the tiniest bit. So first, before anything else, I need to go to a McDonald's to compare a country like this to a country like where we're going. And so a Big Mac costs 39 crowns, and I guess the easiest of comparison would just be to hamburger. A hamburger costs 12. Okay, the most expensive burger you can find is 65. Or if you get it as a meal, it's 109. You can have carrots if you want. So many bikes here, by the way, but I won't be taking any of them. Instead, I'm going for a lovely walk with my suitcase, because there's one thing I really wanted to do in Denmark. This was the first country I ever went to independently, and it's funny because my assistant here made a funny comment about how I'm a geography YouTuber, knows all about Denmark, and she doesn't know where Denmark is. It's her first time here too. And I'm gonna get something real silly to celebrate. So, you know how sometimes randomly you get recommended places that you know you're never going to go to, but it just looks so incredible? One of those places was this, an espresso half croissant from Copenhagen. And then it hit me like, wait, actually, I'm going to Copenhagen to connect between some flights. And I figured I had to come directly here. And I think I made the right call. Oh, ice cream's so good. Is it going to be perfect if we mix the espresso ice cream with the espresso croissant? Never had a wet croissant before. Totally works though. We should export this to the rest of the world. Anyway, to the airport. So even after a 2-hour, 20-minute detour, I have made it back to the airport and now back aboard the plane. And so I do not recommend doing this, because if you are to miss the connecting flight, because your first one is delayed or just something goes wrong in the city or whatever else it is, you would lose the entire value of it, which just really sucks, right? However, ultimately, I personally think it's a risk worth taking sometimes, so you don't have to spend an entire day somewhere beforehand, and so that you can take advantage of better fares, because ultimately it's better to save money, you know, say 20% every single time, and then 1 in every 20 times lose it, than to just pay 20% over each time. But otherwise you can just choose to insure or whatever else, but you shouldn't just do this willy-nilly, or one day you'll come to regret it. Statistically, every day someone does regret it, but so far that hasn't been me. Speaking of things that haven't been me, let me show you something exciting. I'm aboard the plane right now. Look at it. This is something that is not recommendable to anyone really on a value per pound or value per dollar spent, and I would say therefore, do you need this? No. But am I doing it anyway? Yes. But something I do love is flying on airlines and a type of luxury that would have blown the mind of 10-year ago me, who was jumping on those £5 Ryanair flights in economy, because every airline is the same in economy. It's all the base game of the fact that you are most price conscious when you choose airlines. You're not really loyal in any other way that they can prove. However, in business, it's a whole different game, and so every other airline does it so differently. Look how luxurious this mini suite is. We get a cozy place to sit back, we get fun things for our legs, there's wireless charging, even the tray table is fun in my opinion. Look at this, super cool. Also, there's all sorts of hidden storage. I only learned about this like halfway into the flight. There's a whole secret compartment in there. Also, you can tell I've just woken up, but over here, oh, there's water. I was just upset about the lack of this. Everything you want is just at this seat, and it's so cool. Okay, I have now landed in what has to be the most exotic place I've ever been. I really am fascinated by what's going to happen on this trip, but I've finished the 4th thing I don't recommend, and so now for the 5th one. This is one that, I'll be honest, I feel like looking down on others for doing, despite being an absolute avid lover of myself. And although that probably tells you something about the human condition, you'd rather know what it is, and so let's get to the city and show you. Well, walking down the street, a man told his boy, like, Americans, in like a very concerned tone. And it's funny, because first of all, not Americans. Can't just group English-speaking people in that way. But second of all, again, American. Can you believe it? What was the context? Is it like, watch out, you know what those guys do to the country when they're not a fan of it? Or was it more like, oh yeah, watch out Americans, they do not have any sensibilities? I want to be more offended about it. However, I am going to McDonald's right now, so the 5th thing I never recommend that you do when traveling, and I genuinely do judge if I hear people are like, oh, now that I'm in a new country, it's time to eat all the chain food from back home, but in this new country. But at the same time, I am fascinated by 2 things when I travel. One is to check out a supermarket, and one is to check out the McDonald's. These are 2 of the most standardized, worked out games on the planet, and I'm always curious to see what a country can do about it. It's so wet, by the way. Do you see a bank? Because I do. Do you think it's Southeast Asia? That's probably what it actually is. They're gonna get that leak out there eventually. Anyway, look. It's not a Golden Arches, but it is below the Sea Bank. I don't think the kids want me to go into McDonald's. They're very disapproving of the Americans coming over, stealing their McDonald's. But I'm gonna do it. The fact that McDonald's fries taste the same everywhere in the world is impressive. More impressive is the fact that the ice cream machine works here and the receipt printer. You know, I didn't have to just take a screenshot of the number on the screen there. I have a receipt. Receipt printers and milkshake. Honestly, this trip has radicalized me. Communist McDonald's is the way to get it done, and if communism is the best way for McDonald's, maybe it's the best way for the rest of us. I never really realized. So the one thing it is worth mentioning is, we'll go over the prices later, but this was a $170,000 dong meal, about $6 US, and that is very expensive relative to other options that I've seen so far in Vietnam. So keep in mind, you know, on the relative price scale, it's expensive, but there's also a lot of very unique items. Let's give them a try. This is a sausage burger, I'm assuming because of the region's love of pork as a meat. It's going to be a McMuffin, right? No. Not at all. Oh. This is the cheapest item on the menu, by the way. At just 36,000 dong. Oh. Fascinating. There's a lot of people in Vietnamese shirts that are pointing at me right now. It's the American doing McDonald's review. Yeah, this is insanely good. To be fair,
you got some kids dancing.
they came into the shop.
Yeah.
Those guys don't even know. They don't even know. They just assume this is my holiday McDonald's video. And I'm gonna take back home and show to my grandkids. Or my grandparents, maybe. You know, maybe my grandparents would like the McDonald's video. If they do, then this one's for you, Grandma. I don't know what McDonald's they have in Sri Lanka. It's a discussion we've never had, to be totally honest with you. But here's what they have in Vietnam. This is Korean spicy chicken. They said if I wanted not spicy, it'd be a 14-minute wait. So I figured, you know, how bad can so spicy, how can you handle the heat? How bad could that actually be? Especially when it comes to rice that looks this good. I don't know why, but rice that comes in a bowl is just more satisfying, right? Except at McDonald's. Oh. That's worse rice than I make at home. And my home isn't even an expensive McDonald's kitchen. However, they also have this. It said it was one piece of chicken, and I thought that might be like a small amount. Maybe I'd regret getting so little. But this is the most ridiculously sized chicken, I guess chicken thigh maybe, ever? Let's bite into it. Let's see what's going on. It tastes so strongly of cheese sauce. I thought it would be mustard on the top there. That is, oh, okay. And as I was insane, there's no spice at all. Wow, can't believe the spice tolerance is so low. No, there's a lot of spice. There's a bit too much spice, I would say. The only thing that can balance this out is a bit of rice. Finally, and very essentially, we have, why did I go for more? I figured, oh yeah, the spice will go away if I eat more chicken. That is not how spice works. And so I'm going to make this go away by having a matcha Oreo McFlurry. Matcha as a McFlurry flavor is really, really fun. Again, this is I wouldn't guess this is the matcha hub of Asia or anything. But I would say, this is an expensive McFlurry. It's over £1, so it's more than my benchmark price in the UK, even though they don't cost that much anymore. But it's good. It is very, very weird though, that in a country where I've noticed everything is absurdly cheap, that things like this are actually more or less the same prices as back home. I also got a drink. I forgot what it was called. I'm gonna have to look at the receipt, honestly. This is a Tool Salted Calamansi. It doesn't look very salted to me. All very Tula, we're being totally honest, right? It tastes like nothing. It tastes so watery. I'm guessing it's like a cocktail that's all mixed in at the bottom. It's like a bit of a mango flavor. Oh, actually, oh yeah, it's growing on me a bit. Very tropical. I bet this is a good drink for the hot days here. Right now I'm very wet, so I don't need hydration as much. But it's fun to see regardless. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
Hi.
Where are you from?
The UK.
Oh, okay. And we're speaking up against a human rights violation that's happening in China, aiming at the people who
Oh,
have
Philly of the, yeah, the.
Okay.
It's a real bummer, right? Not a fan. Yeah, some organ stuff in there, right? Like it's really. That's how she knows I'm not American. I've heard some amount of something that did not happen inside of the 48 states there, maybe why? This rice is so bad. It is shocking given the price tag. But this is like, if I ordered this on the street somewhere, I'd be like, I think I should stay at a tourist trend.
think this is how they eat the rice cat. Well,
Okay, I've achieved my mission, and so at this point I was happy to fly home. However, the nature of flying intercontinentally means you usually have to spend at least a few days there, and so I did that and saw some very interesting things, and also one of those was a lobster roll. I ate some incredible food while I was there. One of the most shocking examples of a lobster roll that was so good at such a low price was found in the most random New York place that I just found on the street outside the prison museum, but also I tried some of the best noodles of my life. I actually have noticed that a few places in Vietnam, street food places, have a Michelin bib gourmand, a rating from Michelin, which is just mind-blowing to me that can be true. But what's also mind-blowing is the fact that it can be so good. Again, some of the best noodles I've ever had, some of the best bun that I've ever had, but also, intriguingly enough, be so cheap. Outside of McDonald's, which was ludicrously expensive, the one common theme that I noticed in Vietnam is that it was suspiciously cheap. And this is true for basically any goods that you'll find there. Anything that isn't a huge international chain, anything that I tried to measure versus back home that was a direct one-to-one comparison would cost a very high amount in Vietnamese dong, but anything that was local and that didn't touch the outside world wasn't. And this made me realize that Vietnam basically has what you might call a bubble economy. And because you might have wondered at this point, like, okay, Toy Cat, you went to the communist McDonald's, you honestly, you seem to like the McDonald's but not like the food itself, but how is it that a communist country has all of these hallmarks of a capitalist economy? And I assumed that it was going to be like a China situation where they're like, nudge nudge, wink wink, this is basically communism, trust us guys. But actually, after looking into the ideology behind Vietnam, they actually believe that the fastest way to achieve communism is going to be in like 150 years, and the best way to get wealthy enough to achieve it is via capitalism. And if that sounds hypocritical, then it probably wouldn't pass in any like a leftist space in the Western world, but it's a system that works for Vietnam. They kind of have a nationalist economy that is sort of separated from the world. It does interface with the world, and they do have exports and imports, but those exports are ludicrously cheap and those imports are ludicrously expensive because their currency is very cheap, making it possible for even the most popular tourist sites, the ones where you'd expect it to be exclusively tourists, whether that's in the center of Hanoi, whether that's Halong, or whether that's heading a little bit south to Ninh Dinh. I think it's worth mentioning when you go to basically anywhere in Vietnam, it is almost exclusively Vietnamese tourists there because local domestic tourism is huge as a result of this currency exchange. They have a system that actually works quite well for them, and even though it sucks that, like, yeah, if you go international as a Vietnamese person, your dong doesn't go very far, the truth is it actually works very well that they get this huge influx of foreign money, and in exchange all they have to deal with is a slight disbalance in how these things go. Is that a good thing or a bad thing is kind of dependent on how good or bad you think the global economy is as a whole, but it is something I found to be really interesting. And also, what I think is really interesting is the fact that a few years ago, I was just casually talking about Vietnam's super unique borders. Look at this video right here. Look how young I look a whole year ago, and here I am right now, having now actually been. It's super cool that I can do things like this as a result of this channel, and so I hope you're looking forward to my next country that I'll be visiting. It's happening super soon. It's actually, looking on the map, if I just spoil it for you right now, heading to Vietnam and then heading back to the UK and then heading back to Malaysia 3 weeks later, it looks really inefficient now that I'm looking on a map and I'm realizing that instead, I could have traveled 2,000 kilometers, but instead I have to travel, actually, maybe it's better I don't work out the numbers on this one. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you don't have to travel 21,000 kilometers anytime too soon, because I am going to see you in the next one, unless I die in a plane crash. If I do, then that'll be content, I guess. Anyway, goodbye. That's not how you meant to end a video. Oh, if you want, you can follow this channel on Patreon, where you'll support ridiculous trips like this one, and also where you can watch me eat my favorite lobster roll I've ever had so far. Do it. I would like the money. I will use it for more lobster rolls. Is it even money if you just spend it immediately? I guess money is mostly only used for goods and services. Anyway, goodbye.